The spirit of the lion. The dust of the long road to Jerusalem billowed behind Alexander and his army as they approached the ancient city. His conquests had been swift, relentless. Greece, Asia Minor, and now, the heart of the ancient world beckoned. Yet here, amid the sun-scorched hills and sacred walls, something awaited him. A presence beyond mere conquest. The air was thick with prophecy and destiny. Before Alexander had set foot in the lands of Israel, the high priest Jaddua had been visited by a dream, a vision that stirred the very essence of ancient knowledge passed down through centuries. In the dream, a figure clad in the armor of a conqueror, crowned with the distinct diadem of Macedon, approached the city. But unlike other conquerors who bore war, this figure bore divine purpose. Jaddua awoke knowing this man was not to be feared but revered, for he was chosen by God himself to fulfill a prophecy long spoken. The high priest's vision spread like wildfire among the priests and the people of Jerusalem, and as Alexander approached, the city opened its gates not in submission, but in a divine welcome. As the golden light of dawn bathed the city's ancient stones, Alexander and his men saw a sight that no other city had shown them. The high priest stood at the city's gates, adorned in his robes of sacred white, with the elders and priests flanking him in a procession of solemnity and majesty. Alexander's heart stirred. It was not the ordinary greeting of a conquered city, but something else, something greater. The moment Alexander laid eyes on the high priest, he fell to his knees. "This," Alexander declared, "this is the man who appeared to me in a dream, bidding me march forth in the name of the gods. He is the sign that my path is righteous, that my conquest is blessed." In awe, his army watched as Alexander, their unstoppable general, bowed before this priest, this symbol of divine power. The Blues, those shadowy figures that had lurked in every city Alexander had taken, knew that this was not a moment they could control. Fearing his unstoppable momentum, they fled. Jerusalem welcomed Alexander with a grand banquet, a celebration not of submission but of the alignment of destinies. Tables overflowed with the finest foods, a feast that celebrated not the conqueror, but the prophecy. Alexander walked among the people as one chosen by their God, as though he had stepped out of their most sacred texts. There was no bloodshed here, no plunder, only reverence. But Alexander, though honored, knew his greater destiny awaited. The Blues had withdrawn, licking their wounds, but they were not yet defeated. Their influence still lurked across the lands of Persia and beyond. This was but a moment of respite before the storm, for the true heart of darkness, the empire of Persia, lay ahead, where the chains of spiritual and financial bondage still gripped the people. At Issus, Alexander would again unleash his fury upon the Persian Empire. Here, the vast army of Darius III awaited him, their sheer numbers a monument to the empire's might. The Blues, hidden in the shadows, had orchestrated this empire's dominance for centuries, enslaving its people both in spirit and in wealth. But Alexander would tear through this illusion. Darius had chosen his battlefield carefully, a narrow pass between mountains and the sea, where his numerical advantage would seem insurmountable. But Alexander was not daunted. His army, outnumbered but hardened by years of relentless warfare, stood ready. Here, Alexander knew, victory would come not through brute force, but through sheer brilliance. With a thunderous cry, Alexander's companion cavalry struck at the heart of the Persian army, targeting Darius himself. The Persian forces, made up of enslaved soldiers forced to fight for an empire that crushed them, buckled under the precision of Alexander's tactics. The elite Persian immortals fought with skill, but even they could not stem the tide of the Macedonian charge. Alexander's eyes never left Darius, and as the charge cut through the Persian ranks like lightning through the sky, the Blues' so-called King of Kings fled, abandoning his army to the slaughter. His chariot wheeled away in panic as his soldiers broke, the chains of their subjugation snapping as the Macedonian force surged forward, leaving the field awash in the blood of the vanquished. Issus had shattered the illusion of Persian invincibility, but Alexander's true destiny lay beyond even that. His gaze turned southward, to Egypt, the land of the gods, where the ancient priesthood still clung to the remnants of a once glorious spiritual empire, now corrupted by the Blues' influence. In Egypt, Alexander sought more than just a crown. He sought answers. He sought the wisdom of the gods, the truth of his divine origin. The road to Siwa was long and treacherous, a harsh journey through the endless desert, where few dared to tread. But Alexander, driven by his quest for divine realization, pressed on. When he finally stood before the oracle of Amun, the silence of the desert was replaced by the whisper of eternity. The priests led him into the sacred chamber, where the seer awaited a figure veiled in mystery, who communed not with mortals, but with the gods themselves. As the light of the torches flickered, casting shadows that danced like ancient spirits, the seer spoke the words that would forever seal Alexander's place in history. You are the son of Amun-Ra, the chosen of the gods. Your destiny is not to conquer, but to unite. You shall be remembered not as a king, but as a god among men. The words echoed in Alexander's mind as the weight of his quest settled upon him. The Blues had sought to divide humanity for centuries, weaving webs of greed and power to control the world through shadow and deceit. But Alexander was the one who would tear those webs apart, and in Egypt, the veil had been lifted. His path was not just one of conquest, it was one of unity, of restoring the world to the oneness it had lost. Egypt now stood with him, the priests of Amun and the people embracing him as their liberator and their pharaoh. But the heart of Persia still lay ahead, and with it, the true test of Alexander's might and vision. Gaugamela, the final stand of Darius, awaited him. The empire that had enslaved countless lives, corrupted by the Blues, now stood on the brink of collapse. The Macedonian army, tempered by the fires of battle, marched forward, and behind them, the dream of a united world won free from the shackles of manipulation grew ever closer.